Stanley, wasn't it?
Stanley, hi.
Hi, Stanley. So we're in Edinburgh. We're on the Mall, and I'm here predominantly for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. But like I was saying to you, my podcast is about change makers, and it looks like you're trying to make a change in the world. You're trying to do something. You're trying to raise awareness of a cause.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that cause.
So I was saying before what veganism is, because we're a vegan organisation, and it's important to understand what the term means. So veganism is you are against animal exploitation. It's not a diet, it's not a lifestyle, it's not a phase. It's a philosophical stance of being against the exploitation of animals. And exploitation is when you use others for your own purposes. So pigs, cows, chickens, meat, dairy and eggs. You exploit, abuse and kill these animals for those products. That's exploitation, and that's what vegans are against. Most people would say they respect animals, but they are living out of accordance with that principle because they pay for animal abuse. So all we're trying to do is try to highlight that contradiction. We ask people, do you respect animals? Most people say yes. Then I say, do you pay for meat, dairy and eggs? And they say usually yes. So then, can you respect animals while paying for animals to be abused? And usually that's where we get into a discussion about it. But veganism is very simple. There's no debate here, really. Animals shouldn't be exploited. Most people agree with that. It's just about living that life. So, sorry, what is your name?
Sorry, my name is Martin.
Martin. So, you said you are vegan a few times in the week?
Yes, yeah.
Can you see how, if I, like, for example, if I abused you only a few times in the week, would that be an ethical thing? Would that be like if I said I was against harming you, right?
Yes, right.
I'm against harming you, but only on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Does that make sense? Is that acceptable?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I guess one of the things we have is we're in a society where it's become normalised, hasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And we're very much brought up to just consume the products that are put into the supermarket.
Yes.
I would say it feels. It kind of is, when something's part of your life, it's hard to make a change in those habits. So if you've been brought up to eat a certain type of food and you've lived 40 years, which I have, to go overnight, I'm not going to do that anymore, it's very difficult. I'd say actually eating is potentially harder to make changes with than things like smoking or drinking or drugs. You know, it's
right. It's a big part of your life.
It's every single day, and we haven't got a choice but to consume. So how would you tell me to make to go, no, I do have a choice?
Well, yeah, because people are familiar with the supermarket, and there are a couple of aisles of fruits, veg, legumes, bread, beans, chickpeas, so many whole foods that are all vegan, that are all healthy, and you can eat. And we live in the UK, which is probably the best place for vegan alternatives, like vegan meats, vegan sausages, vegan milks, soy milk, almond milk. Meat alternatives, soy, corn, seitan, tofu. There's so many alternatives. And I want to talk about what you said about it being difficult to be vegan. You've got to think about it from the victim's perspective. If I was to take the dairy industry, which is probably one of the most abusive industries, where calves are separated from their mothers, the male calves are shot, the female calves are brought up to be dairy cows, and being a dairy cow means you're forcibly impregnated again and again and again to produce lots of milk. And then when your milk intake slows down, you're sent to the slaughterhouse. So it's a very short life as well. Cows have a long lifespan, but it's only several months. But it's just pure exploitation. As soon as you're born, you have a date of death, and you're exploited until that point. That is hard. That is hard for those animals. So we've got to think about it from the victim's point of view, not from our point of view, because we're the oppressors here. We're the ones who are paying for their abuse. It is hard to be vegan, but comparatively, for the animals, it's easy. It's really easy. I think the hardest part about being vegan is reconciling the fact that you live in a non-vegan world, that 99% of people are paying for something that you're against, that your friends and family are paying for something that you're against. But, it's the price to pay for doing what's right. So, what do you think is stopping you, Martin, from going vegan now?
I think for me, I think the education is there. It all sounds like it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I can tell that you're really passionate about this cause. Like this means a lot to you, and I wonder I wonder where that passion comes from, that I may be able to feed from that that passion?
Okay, well, I feel it's because I know every moment of the day, thousands upon thousands of animals are being abused, tortured, and murdered for food we don't need, right? It's a major injustice. It's probably one of the biggest injustices in the world. And these beings do not have anyone speaking up for them apart from vegans. So as a vegan who doesn't eat these foods or wear leather, wool down, I feel like it's my moral imperative to speak up for these animals. Because we're the only ones who can speak up for them, right? And I also wish that people spoke to me earlier about it. I think people want to know the truth sooner. People who've gone vegan, they say, I wish I knew earlier. I wish I understood the contradiction, that I respected animals but I was paying for their abuse. We're not here to spread information. We're here to hold people accountable for their actions. Let people know that you are responsible for this, and you don't have to be. There is an option, which is veganism. So
that's interesting, holding people accountable for their actions, and I wonder how much power that has.
Yeah.
I agree that that's an important thing within society, but I kind of feel that people don't like to be told anything. They don't like to be told that they're wrong.
No, yeah, of course.
So how do you get around that, and how do you get around people that are negative to your cause?
I usually, from the conversation, I see if they're receptive or not. For example, you are receptive. Even if you weren't doing this podcast, I think we would have a good conversation. Yes. But if someone isn't receptive and they are listing off loads of excuses to continue being non-vegan, continue paying for meat, dairy and eggs, harming animals, then I just stop the conversation and just end it. And if people get aggressive, I just end it. I think that sends a strong message of I'm not going to entertain your aggression or your stupid excuses, right? Because I tend to put them in the victim's position. Because it's very easy to talk from the oppressor's lens, because we are the oppressor in this scenario of the relationship between us and animals. We are the oppressor. If non-human animals had a devil, humans would be the devil. So, yeah, that's it. That's basically it. So, Martin, will you go vegan from now?
I will look at it. I will consider it.
Yes.
I will think about it deeper. Like I say, I have tried to make a change. I am aware of the problem that it is within the world, and it is something that I will come away from this conversation and I will think about this on a deeper level. And so I appreciate that.
You say you'll think about it, but is there anything more to understand, right? You know that animals are being exploited for your choices, and you know that there's an alternative, veganism. So why not go vegan from now? Why do you have to think about it?
I guess for me personally, there's a processing time for me. This reminds me similar of sometimes when I have debates with my kids. My kids are often very much like, Dad, give me the answer now. What do you want? And when I do that, I feel like sometimes I might make the wrong decision if I immediately jump to a promise. And I don't want to.
So in what way would veganism be the wrong decision?
I guess it's a personal thing to me. I don't think it's a wrong decision that we should be looking to moving towards it. But how quickly that I can do that, weighing up all the things in life. I'm finding this really interesting, by the way, because it's not often that I'm put on the spot on the podcast.
Well, if you were in their position, how fast would you want the injustice to end? If you were the cows, pigs, and chickens, how fast would you want to be free? How fast would you want the injustice to end?
Immediately.
So then you must go vegan immediately. Because as long as you're not vegan, you are the reason they are exploited and abused. Because all you have to do is move your hand and buy something else in the supermarket. That's all you have to do. Research the vegan restaurants. A little bit of Googling, 5 minutes. That's all you have to do. And you save animals. Do you know what the biggest benefit of going vegan is?
Tell me.
It's kind of what I said. Save the animals.
Save the animals, number one.
Yeah.
What about personal health as well?
There's also that bonus.
When you hear that argument that some people would say that meat is an essential part of everyone's
Well, I would just point
diet.
them to the World Health Organization and the American Dietetic Association and the NHS, who all say being vegan is healthy for all stages of life. There's no nutrient that you get from meat, dairy, and eggs, essential nutrient, I mean, that you can't get from plants. If you think about where do all these animals get these nutrients from? Plants. We just get these nutrients recycled through their bodies. And yeah, so we could talk about health for ages, but we're here to talk about ethics. Because if you were the victim, would you want people to talk about the health benefits of not harming you, or the ethical reasons not to harm you? That's why we're focused on the animals, the ethics of it. So, how many animals do you want to be exploited for your lifestyle going forward? Is it 0 or more?
0.
0. Then you have to be vegan from now. So are you going vegan from now?
These are really good points you're making. You've clearly thought a lot about this, haven't you? You've clearly really. I feel like you've got a great understanding as well for people. With and you've had I presume you've had these same debates before. And do you feel like as you're moving forward, you are making more and more people make the change?
Well, I've talked to 3 people. I've convinced them to go vegan and get active for the animals before this conversation. So this is a very good event for me. Like I've got a good conversion rate of vegans who are also active. Because the thing is, veganism isn't just about what you eat and what you wear. It's also about the principle of being against it, animal exploitation, rejecting it. So therefore, you should speak up for the animals as well. It's not just about being vegan, also being active. Because if everyone was just vegan and just lived their lives normally but chose different foods, then we wouldn't be here having conversations, trying to convince others to change. If everyone just kind of stayed in their homes and being vegan. A documentary I watched called Earthlings, that was made by active vegans who were trying to show this animal slaughter footage, and that convinced me to go vegan. It's hard because you realise what I've been doing has been wrong all my life, and it's cruel, but you have to feel uncomfortable, you have to feel sad, you have to go through those negative emotions to come out the other side and change for the better. So Martin, will you go vegan from now?
I love this persistence in you.
Okay.
And also the other thing that I'm getting from you as well is that you're trying to make a change through feelings, aren't you? You're trying to get to that more emotional.
Yeah, that's where we start from. How do you feel about this?
How do you feel? And so, how does it make you feel coming out here on the streets and having these conversations?
It makes me feel very. It depends on the day. Some days people aren't receptive and want to keep disrespecting animals and be non-vegan. But there's some days where I convince people to go vegan, and that's amazing. But Martin, you still haven't answered my question.
I guess for me at this point, that it's where I stand with the podcast is that I want this to be a space for other people. The podcast, whilst it's got my name on it, this isn't about me, and I feel if I give an opinion either way, then I don't give credibility to allowing this space for people to have their views, because then I'll be forcing my views. So that's the only reason.
So you think saying you go vegan is forcing views on your audience?
No, I'm saying that this space here, this podcast, isn't a space for my views. This is a space for you.
Okay. So once we've ended this conversation,
podcast,
I'll ask you again.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it more. But for me, it's important that I don't dive in, because I would like to speak to people on the other side of the argument and try and get an understanding.
But do you think there is a justification for this then? Do you think there is another side?
For me personally, no. You can easily say, for me personally, the cruelty that you're showing on there, on the screens there, there's no justification for that.
Yeah. It's not like both sides have a story to tell. Mm-hmm. It's very clear this is wrong. You would agree?
I'd agree with what you're showing there is wrong. The argument for going completely vegan and how we do that as a society, I think there is a deeper discussion we can have there than perhaps just a full stop. I might be wrong.
Well, it's from individuals changing, right? I can't change what the world's going to do, but in this conversation, I can try to convince you to go vegan, and then maybe you can convince others. We only have limited bandwidth for what we can do. So, it's a slow process of trying to align people's actions and morals, because that's all we're trying to do is align actions and morals. I'm against animal abuse, so therefore you have to live according to that view. In the same way as if I'm against harming Martin, but I harm you every day, that's a contradiction. I want someone to point that out to me, so then I'll stop. So that's what we are trying to do with non-vegans, is to say to you, you're compassionate, you respect animals, you've got me think of yourself as a good person, that you're doing the right thing, but 3 meals a day, you are paying for pigs to be killed in gas chambers. 90% of pigs killed in gas chambers. Egg industry, male chicks ground up alive on their first day of birth. I've already talked about the dairy industry. Fur, leather, wool, down, all of these industries, they're all cruel. There's no way of having exploitation which isn't cruel. Because the whole idea of exploitation is using someone for your own benefit. That's always going to be cruel, because you're restricting their freedom, their right to life, their choices for your preferences.
Well, this has been a really important conversation. I appreciate you sharing. Just as we wrap this up, you've kind of addressed this question for me, but I want to know what's your hopes and dreams from here going forward.
Well, my hope is getting a vegan world. I would just keep doing activism. I'd keep trying to convince people to go vegan, because I would want myself, when I wasn't vegan, to have the same message. I'm almost carrying the torch from the documentary that convinced me to go vegan, Earthlings. I'm carrying that torch onwards, trying to convince others, because I appreciated having my eyes open, take my blinders being taken off, realizing what I was paying for. So I want to do the same, because I want to respect that and continue that. Yeah. Be the voice.
Continue that mission.
Yeah, be the voice for the animals that don't have a voice.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for sharing. Where do we find out more about you and about your cause?
So, Anonymous for the Voiceless. If you just type that in. There's also a page on there called Why Vegan, like a chapter subheading. So you can go on there and look into more about Anonymous for the Voiceless. But in terms of veganism, I would highly recommend people watch a documentary called Dominion, just for free on YouTube, which shows animal slaughter footage and goes through the whole industry. So you get full to be honest, if you watch that film and you're not vegan, there's something wrong. There's also an amazing speech by Gary Yourofsky on YouTube, the best speech you'll ever hear. He's an incredible speaker, and there's no graphic footage. He just explains clearly and eloquently why you should be vegan. So please watch that. If you feel there's any grain of truth in what I'm saying, please just go watch that.
Great. Thanks again for sharing. And if anyone has been watching or listening, thank you for joining us for this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.